2020 is looking to be a solid year for the ever-expanding RPG, or role-playing game, genre. We're here to talk about our most anticipated new RPGs dropping this year. There are many, and yes, we're including some action RPGs, and no, it doesn't seem like Elder Scrolls 6 is coming anytime soon, but hey, we're looking forward to hearing your picks down in the comments. But let's kick ours off with number 10 and talk about Wasteland 3. The legendary post-apocalyptic strategy RPG is returning with a winter twist. Following the success of Wasteland 2 in 2014, the series from the late 80s was brought back to the forefront, and for pretty good reason. Wasteland 3 looks pretty sweet, continuing a lot of the stuff established in 2 with the same team who paid attention to the details and clearly cared about the series' roots. This time around, the adventure moves to snowy Colorado mountains, where you set up a new base of operations and train up some new survivors. Squad-based tactical combat returns with rangers you can customize and build, and it's different perks and abilities and stuff, and of course, there's tons and tons of story with plenty of freedom in decision making and exploration and all that stuff you kind of come to expect for a game like this. There's plenty in the package, as you can play solo or cooperatively, which for these style of RPGs always works out really nicely in my personal opinion. Honestly, we got high hopes for this one, so keep your eye on it. It's dropping May 18th, 2020. Over at number 9, let's talk about Elden Ring, the next From Software game. This thing is gonna be huge, dude. Details on it, though, are still scarce right now at the time of making this video, but it's already hotly anticipated by us and many, many fans of the development studio. Like, straight up. George R.R. Martin from Game of Thrones creator, collaborated for this project and wrote the overarching world lore, so that's something. Apparently Miyazaki and his team are still in charge of like the emergent moment-to-moment story that the players directly face, but Martin laid the foundation for this world and stuff, and honestly, that sounds like a collaboration suitable for a FromSoft game if you know how their stories and their narratives are told and how they play out. We do know that it's been dubbed as a, and I quote, natural evolution of the Dark Souls formula. There's going to be more of a general open world style, no towns or NPCs or anything like that, but lots of ruins and dungeons. We've also seen horseback riding thrown around too. Who knows what the actual game will hold? They've been working on this thing since 2017 roughly, and we're hoping to catch a glimpse of some real gameplay soon. Now this could be anything really, but still, we're just as excited. Next, over at number 8, Bravely Default 2. Announced at the Game Awards, we're getting a Bravely Default game for Nintendo Switch. JRPGs kick ass, and the 3DS for a long time was blessed with some pretty great ones, especially with Bravely Default and Bravely Second and Layer. And now, hopefully this year, if all goes well, we're getting Bravely Default 2. But right now, details are still slight. Expect emphasis on characters and lots of cool towns, combat with a job type system that's pretty challenging, exploration, and hopefully just some overall engaging JRPG goodness. Honestly, it's like a comfort food at this point. We know that the original series developers are returning here and collaborating with the developers of Octopath Traveler, so that's a thing. I wonder if we're gonna see the previous Bravely games make their way to Switch first, though. I wonder, that could be a thing. But Bravely Default 2 is scheduled for a worldwide release in 2020. Now over at number 7, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Actually, if you're watching this video, the game might be out. It's like just around the corner at the time of recording this video. It seems promising, and it's pretty much the most RPG a Dragon Ball game has been, at least in a very long time. We do know that the game will cover all of the big sagas from the series. We've seen stuff from the Saiyan, Namek, and Cell and Buu sagas in trailers and playable at events. Now, just like other RPGs, but kind of unlike Dragon Ball Z games, Kakarot will have a ton of side stuff and side quests that you can do, and just a heavy emphasis on RPG mechanics. For one, there are animals running around that you can hunt, and then you can cook their meat at one of the many scattered campfires you find throughout the game worlds. Just like other RPGs, this recovers your HP and also can buff Goku depending on what ingredients you use to cook. There are also materials to collect, like minerals scattered throughout the world, and then there's also mini games and stuff along with the side quests. You can do fishing, and of course you're going to be able to fly around and travel around and collect Z orbs, which act as a currency for leveling up and unlocking new character abilities. So essentially, essentially you're going to be able to build up and power up your own Goku, and that sounds really exciting, while also just kind of hopefully experiencing in a good way the original Tales. The quality of Dragon Ball games are kind of all over the place. Fighters is still definitely kicking ass right now, but we're hoping Kakarot definitely keeps the momentum going for just good Dragon Ball games. But at number 6, Neo 2. This time, you create your own character, and it's technically a prequel to the original game from 2017. It's Team Ninja once again, who are capable of making badass action combat. They prove themselves with the surprise hit of the original game, really. This time around, the overall scale looks larger, the stakes and the enemies look crazier and more over the top. We know there's new skills, and there was a beta a few months back, and although we didn't get our hands on it, the gameplay coming out of it did look pretty good. The original game was a really solid take on the Soulsborne formula, like with some twists, and it felt like it really came out of nowhere. The game had surprise points for being entertaining, challenging, kind of weird, and having some really cool bosses. Now here's hoping now Team Ninja can capitalize on their success and build something even crazier here. More character build opportunities, more weapons, more stuff to kill. You know, what could go wrong? But over at number 5, Darkest Dungeon 2. Now another one, at the time of making this video, we still don't know too much about it, but the original Darkest Dungeon was such a killer, fun, addicting concept that was just oppressively challenging, but still kinda unforgettable. The developers Red Hook spoke exclusively to PC Gamer and gave them little details, like a tuned up and tweaked combat system, and more massive changes to the metagame. The classes returned, but possibly in a snowy mountain location, and that's, you know, like I said, we don't know much. Their team was small, and they've bumped it up substantially, and it sounds like they're gunning to make a bigger and badder Darkest Dungeon game. And we're gonna show up for that day one. Now, next up at number 4, we have, of course, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, which was recently delayed one last time, but thankfully, after many years, we're finally going to be playing this thing in 2020. First of all, I think it's worth pointing out that the work put into the look of the world, the look of the characters, the sound, the music, everything is absolutely lovingly done and just insanely beautiful. I think, if anything, whether or not you like the JRPG mechanics, it just seems like a good thing to experience. There's a reason the original game had so much charm and honestly introduced a lot of people to the Final Fantasy games. We got to play this at events like E3, and we're surprised just how fun the combat is, even though it's not completely turn-based like the original is. The compromise, the hybrid style gameplay, and the ability to pause the action really still makes it really compelling. Battles are really fun. I hope they can keep the momentum going throughout the entire game, and of course, as some of you may know, this is only technically a part 1 release. There's more to it. I guess technically we're getting the second game further down the line. This one is only focusing on the first part, and if you've played the original game, you know that there is still so much more game, so much more craziness out there that takes place after this game. So I'm really curious to see how that all goes down, but otherwise, what's in front of us looks absolutely amazing. Now over at number 3, we have Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. It's based on the tabletop game and is a follow-up to the PC cult hit Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. In this upcoming one, you enter the world of darkness through a Seattle that's run by vampires. There seems to be an underground civil war between vampire factions, and it's up to you to make the tough decisions of who to befriend, who to help, who to kill, and which factions you work with, and all that good stuff. It's a first-person RPG where you can create a character and have a fictional character background for who they were when they were human, and you have 3 combat and ability discipline trees to play with. Combat is mainly melee-focused and is said to be, and I quote, faster-paced and forward-driving, and the early glimpses of this game we've seen so far are really cool. This is very much a PC gamer's game. Like, it's just got that vibe about it, you know? It's hard to put my finger on, like, why, but it's just a very systems-based, story and dialogue-heavy, engaging experience. That's just judging off of, like, you know, what I played of the original game. Bloodlines 2 hopefully follows suit. The trailer so far has looked really cool, and I just love the vampire aesthetics going on, so it's pretty high on our list for RPGs we're looking forward to, just on that alone, really. Vampires are awesome. Moving on, number 2, Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. For the bajillionth year in a row, we're including Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord on yet another list video. We've talked about it forever. The first reveal teaser trailer was in September of 2012. The planned release date currently listed on Steam is March 2020 as early access now. This is a hotly anticipated, long-awaited medieval role-playing game for a pretty hardcore crowd. The premise is this: you build up a party of soldiers, you go on quests on the big aerial overview map type thing. You jump in and engage in battles on the ground level, but you're also building up warriors, you're building siege camps and all sorts of militaristic things. You plan out sieges, which are apparently vastly improved in this one. You attack walls and cities, and you can even do it all in multiplayer, in different competitive modes separate from the main campaign. But still, it seems like it's going to add to the package. There's just so much to this game. There's tons of stats to track, especially after victories, all kinds of loot to pick up for you and your horse, lots of highly realistic weapons. Apparently you can start a family, and relationships and dialogue systems with NPCs have been completely overhauled. There's a reason this game has been in the making for a long time, and we've been talking about it for years, and it's still without a release. It's vast and incredibly ambitious, but it seems like developer-publisher Tale Worlds Entertainment are making good on their promises. We'll finally know soon enough. But speaking of soon enough, what can't come soon enough, at number 1 is, of course, you guessed it, Cyberpunk 2077. This is CD Projekt Red's next game after The Witcher 3, which was pretty much a industry-changing, generation-defining, kick-ass quality RPG. Now they've turned their eyes to Cyberpunk based on the old-school game, so they have tons and tons of lore to work with and stuff to build up, and also Keanu Reeves is in the game. Have you heard? I don't know, honestly, at this point, like what more there is to say about Cyberpunk 2077. A massive city, day-night cycles, first-person combat, open-world driving and vehicles, probably tons of well-written side quests, loot, cool jackets, cool weapons, an insane amount of different ways to roll your character. Do you want to be a hacker? Do you want to be a netrunner? Do you want to be a mercenary? Do you want to be this like pure murderous being with cybernetic limbs that can chop people's heads off? There's a lot to it, but it's also recently been delayed one last time. It's now releasing September 17th of 2020. It's definitely going to be the big game of the next fall/holiday season, that's for sure now. Expect us to make a lot more videos on this one, honestly, because we're pretty hyped for it, and it seems like a lot of you guys are too. But of course, we got some bonus games we got to mention as well. Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered is a thing. That is a very good game, and I'm happy that more people are going to be able to get their hands on it. Also, Biomutant is an RPG, technically an action RPG. That's still supposed to release this year, maybe, even though it's been pretty quiet. Tales of Arise if you're looking for a JRPG. Dying Light 2 if you're looking for another Dying Light game, but with deeper quest systems and more on how your decisions impact the world. And of course, Persona 5 Royal, one of the best JRPGs of the last few years, is getting new content. These are some RPGs that we're really looking forward to in 2020. Like I emphasized in the beginning though, there are tons more out there, so many RPGs, so we want to hear from you guys down in the comments what you're looking forward to the most. What are you going to play this year? Let's talk about anything down there, but of course if you enjoyed this video and maybe learned about a new game, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. We would really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing and maybe hitting that notification bell because we put out videos every single day. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.